Okay, so last section of the chapter, section 5, the helminths, or more commonly referred to as the parasitic worms. You'll see them referred to as the tapeworms, the flukes, the roundworms. We include these under the banner of microbiology because at some point in time in the life cycle of the helminths, they're microscopic organisms. Their eggs, their larvae are microscopic. May not be single-cell larvae. Generally, they're not. They're multicellular, but they're still microscopic in size. So that's why we include them here. We see that there's two categories that we generally pay attention to for the helminths. First, platyhelminths, also known as the flatworms. Second, the roundworms, Nematoda. Flatworms, they're going to be long, thin, segmented. Anywhere from a few dozen to, maybe a few dozen segments to hundreds, if not thousands. You're going to see things like the cestodes, the trematodes. And then we get the nematodes. They're going to look like worms, what you think of as worms, kind of the same worm you played with as a little kid, but finer, smaller, maybe a little longer depending upon which ones you're referring to. You look here at a collection of platyhelminths, the trematodes. You see the long segmented one there, Cestoda, the tapeworms. Tapeworms, as we're going to talk in a later chapter, can be anywhere from a few feet to a dozen feet in length. All starts the anterior end, the scolex. The scolex has the ability to attach to the lining of the large intestine, either through hook or suckers or a combination of both. Behind the scolex, attached to it, is going to be the stem cell tissues. The stem cells are going to be making new segments. You see the little segments. They're small right behind the scolex, and as you go down the length of the worm, they get larger and larger. Well, right behind the scolex, new one gets made, then a new one, then a new one, a new one, and they just get pushed along down, becoming the length of the tapeworm. Further away from the tapeworm, that little section is, that segment, the more mature it becomes, because it takes time to make new segments. More mature it becomes, hits a certain point where it's now sexually mature. We call it gravid. In each of those segments, there's going to be a uterus. There's going to be testes. Uterus is making the eggs. The testes are making the sperm. Tapeworms can cross-fertilize with other tapeworms that may be present, or they can fertilize themselves. Depending on the tapeworm, once the eggs are fertilized, they get spewed out by the different segments, the gravid segments. Call it gravid, not gravity, gravid, because it's sexually mature and it's spewing out eggs. Anywhere from thousands to hundreds of thousands a day, depending on how many segments, how long the tapeworm is, and what species. You also see at the bottom some flukes, flattened worms, no segments. The entire fluke, some of them go through the digestive system as they develop from larvae to adults, swim up through the gallbladder, into the liver flukes, or they swim around, penetrate, go up into the lungs. You cough them up, swallow them down. Those are the lung flukes. Then you look here, long white worms, very thin, fine. These are the nematodes. They can be in the tissues, they can be in the gastrointestinal system. Here you'll notice it's not segmented. It's all one long thing, multicellular, multi-tissue. They're going to have some form of a digestive tract. They're going to have, complete uterus, complete testes, making of eggs, making of sperm. They're going to have very complex life cycles where there's going to be one male, one female that have to somehow meet up in a host. Keep in mind, all the helminths are multicellular. They may have some point in their stage where they're a single cell egg, but they begin dividing by mitosis and become multicellular larvae. As you look through the helminths, if you were to take parasitology with me, you'll see that there's a spectrum. Evolutionarily stunted, rudimentary tissues, all the way up to highly advanced, has organs, has organ systems, complete systems there. The helminths are going to fall somewhere in this spectrum, depending upon the species. We do find that when you're looking at the more advanced ones, the more advanced they become, we see that there is a bit of a hierarchy on which organs, which organ systems seem to take preference evolution, from evolution standpoint. Up at the top, it's going to be the reproductive systems, the reproductive organs, uterus, the testes. Those seem to develop long before anything else does in a species, as the species develops evolutionarily. Next down, digestive, then tissue systems, or nervous tissue systems. Yeah, some of these do have some nerves. It's not going to be a central nervous system like we have with brains and spinal cords, but it's going to be rudimentary nerve nodes, allows them to respond to stimulus.